Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcomes. It's a great Saturday evening, the 4th of the 11th, 2023. And this is a great evening in the UK. And of course, Talking Sip Saturday night on the Silburn Show, link you always straight into Jamaica, straight into the yard. Of course, normally I say straight into Ochiris. Normally we talk and sip, we ask you what you're drinking. And we don't have to we just drink anything really. What I'm gonna have is coconut water tonight, really. Straight. I was doing a discussion the other day with some guys, and they said, guess what? All of these coconut water and all of these things, they don't come from Jamaica. They're from Thailand. They're from Indonesia and from all over the world. And some of people are saying, listen, man, when we see the word with some key Jamaican companies, we are somewhat expecting somehow that these companies actually showcase authentic Jamaican drinks, Jamaican food. But anyway, that's another discussion for another time. Tonight, what we're going to have is Wake Up Jamaica. Wake up, wake up, wake up. That's what it is. I'm going to have different guests tonight. Stephanie Marley, Diane McKenzie, and Professor Rosalie Hamilton. But I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, when you talk about Wake Up Jamaica, and something I was thinking about is that, you know, is it? It's time to wake up, get up, stand up for Jamaica, and as I said, as the sun rises over our enchanting island, we've got a show that's all about one thing: awakening the spirit of Jamaica, here to inspire, motivate, ignite that indomitable Jamaica pride within each and every one of you. Now, why did we choose, or why was it choose of Wake Up? Well, we're going to hear about that later. And I understand it's not just a slogan, it's a rallying cry. We believe that each new day in Jamaica is an opportunity for greatness. And it all begins with waking up, getting up, and standing up for a beloved nation. Not just wake up and look around and say, women there, women there, women there, like the guy one time at the bus, women there, women there, women there, women there. You got to know where you are. And of course, Jamaica, country rich in cultures, sleep in history, steeped, brimming with talent, from the reggae beats of Kingston to the pristine beaches of Montego Bay. We've got a lot to be proud of. And on the show, we're here to celebrate off. So get up, stand up, and wake up Jamaica, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to have a discussion tonight. But before I go, I'm going to bring in all my different guests tonight. And first of all, let me bring in Professor Rosalie Hamilton, friend of the show. How are you, Professor?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm cool in the Malibu, you know what I mean? One of the reasons why I tend to always bring you in is because you bring me right back to Jamaica, as Dan will always say. You take us straight back to Jamaica. And ladies and gentlemen, Professor Rosalie Hamilton, she's the founding director, Institute of Law and Economics, and co-chair of Advocates Network. How is Jamaica?
All right, we've been getting out of rains, and we got a big shake up with the earthquake the other day. But we've survived, and we're going picking up the pieces and moving on.
Is that the wake? That's the wake up, I presume.
That's a big wake up. In fact, the earthquake took place in the midst of the launch of the Wake Up campaign. So
okay, we'll talk about that later, definitely. All right, let me let me bring in Miss Stephanie Marley. How are you?
I'm giving thanks. Good to be here with you guys.
Get up, stand up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Everybody's waking up today, isn't it? Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Stephanie Marley, Managing Director of the Rita Marley Foundation, counseling psychologist, humanitarian, and farmer. She says full-time, people be aware that, it is life and we got to get it going as much as possible. That's awesome. And let me bring in Councillor Diana McKenzie. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Silburn.
Okay, good. Right in the UK, all the way in Nottingham you are, isn't it?
Nottinghamshire. I'm in the Shire, Silburn, not in the city.
You're in the Shire.
Too much pollution in the city.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Diana McKenzie, Councillor Diana McKenzie of Ward Rock Hill, and her party is one of those parties in the UK. Not my favorite
which you will not mention.
A passionate Jamaican that spearheaded the only town hall meetings in the UK on Jamaica becoming a republic in Nottingham, Birmingham, and London, and now she wants to take it worldwide. Am I correct, guy?
Oh, obviously, yes, it is. It is correct, Silborn. We don't just want to speak to Jamaicans within the UK diaspora, but we
Yes.
want to reach across to
Mhm.
Canada, to the USA, to
Yes.
Japan, to all over wherever Jamaicans are. We
Yes.
want to reach them and to have that dialogue with them. We want them to be a part of the conversation because
Yes.
this constitutional reform, it is in our lifetime, our generation, something that we might not have the opportunity to participate in again. And so it
Yes.
is very much important that we not just say that we're not in Jamaica anymore, and that it is for Jamaicans there to vote, but we
Yes.
can participate in the diasporas. And that is what I'm hoping to achieve alongside the rest of my colleagues, Professor Rosalie Hamilton and the lovely Stephanie Marley and the rest of the team.
Yes, fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, those on TikTok, which I've got joining, and those on Facebook and YouTube, want to thank you so much. And please share this as well. Of course, you can watch it in the afterplay as well. But we're in a very important moment. But I want to go straight into it. And what is Wake Up Jamaica? Who is going to go for it? Stephanie, Rosalie, Stephanie, you go for it, please.
I'll
Tell
go
us about
first.
Wake Up Jamaica. Yes, please.
Yeah, man. So Wake Up Jamaica is a public education campaign. It's really, the aim is to get us liberated, to get us aware, and to evoke change in our nation. It's a wake up call. It's actually a call for action. We need
Mm.
our people to become educated, to be engaged, and to participate in this constitution reform.
That's fantastic. And the one of the reasons why you're also touching base from the international perspective is that you also recognize that this is not just in Jamaica, but Jamaicans generally speaking, isn't it?
Correct, and I'm almost certain that there are more Jamaicans and persons of Jamaican descent in the diaspora than we are here. So, and
Yes.
there's also power in numbers, and it's about time the people get back some power. So
Mm.
that's
And
yeah.
thank you. And Professor Rosalie Hamilton, I mean, you're part of Advocates Network, civil society. You've been championing the cause for the people and putting yourself out there. Wake Up Jamaica to you. What is it? And you can explain it to persons who are listening.
Yes, it is, as Stephanie said, it's an opportunity to really engage society. We've talked about these three C's,
Mm.
conversations, collaboration, connections, we have to, the world is going through significant changes.
Mm.
And Jamaica at 61 has to stop and think about where exactly are we? Is the systems that we've inherited, the constitutional arrangements, the structure of government, is it
Yes.
adequate to meet
Yeah.
the needs of the modern world? We see since independence, flood of Jamaicans in the diaspora leaving because they're looking for better opportunities.
Mm.
Are we able to maximize the opportunities that exist in Jamaica, create a better Jamaica, so more Jamaicans don't have to leave, they don't want to?
Yeah.
So these are the questions we have to ask ourselves. And I think this campaign is about saying to Jamaicans, listen, it's time to wake up. We see a lot, we talk a lot, we talk a lot among ourselves, we
Yes.
complain a lot, but we're not acting. We're not acting. So the conversation is necessary, but we have to translate that talk
Mm.
into action. And it is when we begin to collaborate, work
Yes.
together, act, that we can change Jamaica.
One of the things that I would say, and I believe it's a question which was asked on a program which you guys were on, is are we saying that the existing organizations are not functioning to wake up Jamaica? Stephanie, why was this formed in a way? Is it that there's inadequacy in the existing organization, or you see that you can put an extra plus to what is already out there? Why was it formed?
It was formed because I noticed, or we noticed, that there, So there's a constitution reform committee that has been put in place by the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And, you know, it would have been the expectation that since there's a committee leading the charge, they would know that the first step is public education and awareness and engaging the public. But it seems like they were prepared to make constitutional change and go into the referendum without even stopping to have a discussion with the people of the country. And so their lack of action is
Yeah.
what propelled the fact that someone, you know, we need to come together, we need to unite, and we need to put action in place. So that is why Wake Up Jamaica was actually formed, was because of a lack of action in the form of public education and awareness.
Before I go to Professor Rosalea, I'm going to bring in Councillor Diana McKenzie. Diana, you have been a part of the Republic debate, and you've initiated the first town hall meetings in the UK. When you hear of Wake Up Jamaica, what's your take on it in regards to the work that you're doing as well?
I honestly just think it is appropriate. The word is very simple. Wake up Jamaica, because what it suggests is that that we're sleeping, that we're somehow not engaged in the process. And so when I hear just the words wake up Jamaica, it sounds to me like a rally cry. It sounds like a passionate call. It sounds like someone that is an organization that is standing in the, as we would say, in the square,
Yes.
calling citizens to participate in something that is of their interest.
Yeah.
And so Wake Up Jamaica. And then I had the privilege of looking on the website, and oh my goodness, talk about information, talk about breaking it down in a way that the very ordinary person can understand. And you know, when I think of the whole ethos of Wake Up Jamaica and just the work that has gone into breaking it down and making it so easy to engage, it reminds me of a quote from Nelson Mandela. And it seems as if that this is what Wake Up Jamaica has taken on. And it says, the quote says, education is the most powerful weapon.
Mm.
And that is how we want to equip our citizens, because this is really about Jamaicans, and
Mm.
we want to equip, and I think Stephanie would agree with me on that, so too with Professor Hamilton, is that we want Jamaicans to be informed. We want to give them the information that they need to make an informed decision, to be directional about their future. And they can't do that without information,
Yes.
without education.
Yes.
And as Mandela has said, you know, education is the most powerful weapon. And
Yes.
and that is what we are saying, that is what we are supporting, and that is why we want to gather the
Yeah.
information far and wide, and disseminate that out to the people, to Jamaicans all over the world, so
Mm.
that they can decide how they want to participate. And not only how, but compel them to participate. Wake
Mm.
up. You know,
Yes.
Yeah.
I can say it in so many ways, Stephanie. I really just love it. Wake up!
Try
You
to
know,
make it
Well,
simple and just, you know,
God,
real.
not
well, well,
sleep. Wake up,
well,
wake
well,
up. Can you
when I'm
not
in,
see
It.
something? You
well,
know,
well,
I love it.
yeah, well, when I'm in the park in the morning and I'm walking, and ladies and gentlemen, finish my walk, I always say, "Wake up, wake up, wake up! Everybody, wake up!"
See?
Professor, Professor, I put the question to Stephanie well as before, and you have been also a very key player in civil societies, NIA, is it NIA? Yeah, National Integrity, and yourself with different ones, and it, where do you where do you see this now adding on to what you're doing? How do you see it working? Yes.
It's an important building block, you know. Ever since our prime minister said we're moving on, we've been very anxious about
It's a long
massive.
moving on. It's a long moving on.
Yeah, man, from March, right, of last year, right? It was the year before, more than a year, more than going on 2 years, right?
Yeah.
We have in the Advocates Network been advocating for public engagement, and it's not just about education about the Constitution. It's education about who we are. I mean, at the core of all of this is the need to come to grips with something that we've all grown up on, the idea that we must emancipate ourselves from mental
Yeah.
slavery.
Yes.
And it's clear that we've not done enough. It's clear in our conversations that we're still holding on to ideas and perspectives and images of ourselves that holds us back. And so as we advocated when the royals came to Jamaica, we said,
Yeah.
why is this happening? And we've been campaigning and engaging the public and so on. And we still feel that there is some basic things that need to be done. We
Yeah.
need to say to Jamaicans, listen,
Yeah.
you own Jamaica.
Yeah.
Jamaica doesn't belong to anybody else. It's we.
Yeah.
And if we own Jamaica, we must take responsibility for Jamaica. And that responsibility includes being active in shaping our Constitution,
Yeah.
being active in engaging other Jamaicans about where we want to go, so that together we can find the kinds of, forge the kinds of consensus that will take us to where we want to go. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Go
just
on,
saying,
go on. Yeah.
we partnered very quickly with Stephanie Marley and this Wake Up campaign, because it's very much aligned with the work that we have been doing and we continue to do. We launched a kind of Philly Republic campaign.
Yes.
We were saying to Jamaicans, this republic that we want to build belongs to us. It is our republic. Don't wait until a government shapes a republic that, quote unquote, they want, right?
We want the right republic.
Very
Absolutely.
important.
And that
Yes.
right republic is what me and you want.
Yes.
I want to Stephanie and why do you think you alluded to the Middle East and to what is happening around the world and people are waking up. Is there a sense that Jamaica is sleeping and going into oblivion, into things, unless there's this wake up factor? Why are Jamaicans sleeping when others seem to be awake?
You see, the psychological response to pain is numbness.
Yes.
Right? And it's also the physical response to pain. So what happens when you're struggling with pain, and right now in Jamaica there's a high level of hopelessness. Those things push you into a state of being numb, and I call it being comatose. And I don't think that's too drastic, because if you stay in numbness too long to deaden the pain, you fall asleep and you become comatose. So I feel like the nation, as Dr. Hamilton was just saying a while ago, the whole world is shifting and changing. And it's not just about education. This Wake Up Jamaica campaign is not only to educate, but it's also to provide some healing. Because what we know for sure is that we're numb, a lot of us are asleep, but a lot of us are also traumatized, historically traumatized, trauma in our DNA, trauma from the way we were raised, trauma for the things that are happening in our society. And sometimes when you watch the news, you cannot do nothing but numb yourself. And this is what puts us in this state of being asleep. And we need to do some healing so that we can really enable our people that when we wake up, we're not just waking up to the reality of our pain, of our suffering. We're waking up to serious change. So as you mentioned before, my background is in psychology. We intend to include in this campaign a whole thing called the healing of our nation. So as I speak about that, we've just released a booklet. I should have it with me right now. It's called Awakening Our Nation. And we're going to do a series of booklets. So we started out with Awakening Our Nation, and we're doing it in series because we figure, we need to put this in digestible bits, little by little. So after the awakening comes the enlightening. And after you're enlightened, then we're going to do the healing. And then we're
Yeah.
going to go back to the parenting. So one of the things we want to do is have parenting workshop because we're depending too much on the government.
Yes.
We need
That's
to
very good.
realize that self sustainability is so important. In order for us to be independent, it needs to begin with self. So we need to become self-reliant in a lot of ways. That is why I'm even farming, because there's a lot
Yeah.
of things that, even like the advocate networks, like the many foundations out there, I think there's a realization that the government can do so much. And then what are we doing as responsible citizens? We need to play our part. It's really important that we do.
Yes, I want to say to JMB TV. The question is asked: what's the website or social media handle for Wake Up Jamaica? It is scrolling across the screen, which is www.wakeupja.com, and I can also make it
JA.
even bold. JA, yeah, yeah, I make it bolder for you. wakeupja.com. That's correct. Yes.
It is correct, wakeupja.com. And we also at Instagram, we're at wakeupja876.
Wake up J at 8876. There you are, sir. You can find that there. This is very interesting, about this wake up bit and the trauma. Let's push this back a bit, because one of the things that in the UK of recent days, there's a reparation commission that came out and said that of all of them that came together, that there's time for reparation, there's time for healing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like there's a lack of something which happened in South Africa, which was Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Do you think, like in Jamaica, there need to be something of that nature? And I tell you why. There was something I saw recently about lands or dead left lands. The government is going to take it and sell it off or something like that. And I was thinking to myself, shouldn't there be some sort of equity factor to it, whereby they try to find the family and work with the family to give it back to family? Because I believe personally, and this is my personal gripe all the while, in 1962 when we got independence, this so-called independence, I always say that, I make it very clear that I never believe it's really independence, but I always believe that that land, the land which was left, should have been a portion to the people of Jamaica to give them a leg up. I just think this needs to go very deep back. Rosalie, what do you say about it? I'm touching on that was my gripe going there right a while ago.
Well, this conversation must
Yes.
be rooted in where we've come from. We
Mm,
can't fully understand our realities today without examining the past. And so we will have to go back there. How we do it is a detail, but
yes.
importantly, how it shapes where we're going is what matters. And
Mm,
so, what we take from the past, the lessons from the past, the understanding of the dynamics of the world today, the economic and social reality of Jamaican people today. There's some good things happening in Jamaica, and there's some bad things. It's
yeah.
not all bad. I
Yeah.
keep saying the very freedom we have to speak and to criticize
Mm,
our government and to to protest and so on in other countries, and we're seeing it live in our
yeah.
eyes today. When you do that, you can get killed, you cannot get
Mm-hmm.
arrested. Okay,
Wow.
so we have to look at what we have. We have to look at this democracy. It's a work in progress. And so as
Mm-hmm.
we begin to deepen our understanding of where we are, our gains, and the underutilization of our potential, especially our
Mm-hmm.
human capital, when we begin to think about that, and we use the kind of creativity that is innately who we are. In fact, one of our C's is creativity,
Yes.
and art, advocacy, and so on is a part of this campaign. And when we
Mm,
do all of that, we begin to unearth the challenges that we face. We become more proactive. We don't sit back and wait for the government and others to fix these problems for us. We actively engage and we find solutions out of the problems.
thank you very much for that. And Diana, from the diaspora perspective, and you were a part, you engaged with the three sets of meetings you had. You reached out to a lot of people. You saw some came, some didn't come. Do you think there's also a sleeping pattern that need to be awakened in the diaspora in regards to?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I join Hamilton as just said. One of the challenges that I came across was people actually thought that their input, their voice, their action, it wouldn't make any difference to the outcome.
Mm.
And that is the challenge that we are up against. That people actually think that it's fixed. Whatever
Mm.
we do, the outcome will be what an hierarchy has already decided that it
Mm.
will be. And so, in a sense, aligning with Wake Up Jamaica, it just makes sense to be a part of that campaign,
Mm.
because what we know is that we as and I hear the words that I say, Professor Hamilton, please correct me if it's Dr. Hamilton or
Come on,
Professor
Rosalie is good, please. No
Rosalie,
stress, Rosalie is fine.
as Rosalie has said.
Yeah.
It's a sense of ownership. This process belongs to Jamaicans. Participating in this process
Yes.
is crucial to the outcome that we want.
Yes.
And we have to be very mindful that this is not the time to be what my mother would say is lackadaisical. This
Mm.
is not the time to be complacent and to say it is them, not us. Or else, what will happen is that they people, others, will make decision about our future,
Yes.
and it will not be to our benefit.
Yes.
And the reform that we're talking about now, we are not talking about for 2024, for 2025. It really is down in the long grass. It's further down. Some of us might not be around at the time that it really takes shape. We might
Mm.
not be here, but we are a part of the structure. And it makes me think back to our four parents. Just think about
Yeah.
the heroes, our seven heroes that we have, our national heroes, and the foundation that they laid. We're still building on these foundation. And at this time, you have Wake Up Jamaica campaign, you have the advocacy network, you have those of us in the diaspora.
Mm.
We are really just putting layers
Yes.
onto it,
Okay.
because Jamaica is, as Rosalie said, is 61 years old, 61 years old, and
Yes.
I am 52, and I'm still learning. I still
Oh,
have a long way
you're
to go.
21. Relax.
Silvan, if I could jump in on the point,
Please. Please.
Dan
Yes.
made an excellent point about
Yes.
the way in which many Jamaicans don't feel that
Mm.
their voice matters. That it's just a waste of time because them going to do what them going to do anyway without us. That
Mm.
kind of idea. It's very important to understand where that comes from. You
Mm.
know, we're born out of a society that has been dominated by a few.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've inherited a system and a structure of government that is highly centralized.
Yes.
And so we have this almost instinctive habit for waiting for others to fix our problems. That has been
Yeah.
the story for decades, for
Yeah.
hundreds of years.
Mhm.
And the transition that ought to have taken place in 1962, which is why you say we've not really gotten independence,
Yeah.
is that that shift should have taken place. That power that should have shifted from the hands of the British to the Jamaican people, not the executive, not the politicians, not the people who are making the decisions on our
Yeah.
behalf,
Yes.
most times without any real dialogue with us. We see and have accepted that our members of parliament go to parliament and typically follow a party line.
Yes.
There's not you rarely see our politicians crossing the party lines on issues
Yeah.
that touch and concern all of us. And
Mm.
so we accept that as the norm. We accept that nothing happens in our country unless our prime minister approves it, or the cabinet approves it. So
Yes. Yes.
the call now is that if in fact we own Jamaica, If in fact democracy is about the will of the people, organizing a society in the interest of the people, for the people, then
Yes.
the people must act.
Yes.
It's a very basic idea. And if we don't get that, then we will perpetuate the status quo. We have to get the idea that we are, after 61 years old, we can't continue to vote our elected representatives, put them in office, and then wait for them to fix up the country. That's what we've done.
Yes.
We
Yes.
have to
Well,
work with them. We have to monitor. We have to hold them accountable. We have to actively engage, not just vote. And it
yes.
is when we do that, we will see different outcomes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you those who are joining us tonight on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. The topic is Wake Up Jamaica. I've got my guests, Ms. Stephanie Marley, Professor Rosalie Hamilton, Councillor Diana McKenzie, and persons who are asking questions. I noticed I'm just going to break to a couple of questions. There's a question which is asked here, how you can get involved. There's a section which we're going to say how you can get involved. Am I correct?
Yes.
Stephanie, yes. So later we're going to do that as well. And thank you so much for Ninja Guy, who said, unfortunately, Jamaicans never had a sense of ownership because of lack of an understanding of who they are. And as you say, we'll bring those more. And please share this video. I want to ask this question here, and I'm going to put it up there because it will set the next stage. What are the main outcomes you want to achieve, Stephanie Marley?
Well, ultimately, we want a constitution that is written by Jamaicans for Jamaicans. But realistically, we have to understand that it is a process. And this constitution reform isn't something that it shouldn't be rushed and it shouldn't be done haphazardly, because they have done some reform to the constitution before. But I really believe that with the discussions of leaving the monarch and, truly trying to become an independent nation, there has to be a lot of discussion with the people who it affects the most, and they need to be aware and involved. And so this process, we have to just understand it's going to be done in phases, and better so, because if you try to put up too many things at one time to be reformed, it can be cumbersome, it can be corrupt, it can be confusing to the people. So ultimately, we really want to see a constitution that suits Jamaica and benefits our people. And to get there, as someone just posted, because we don't know the past, we have ways of confusion to understand the future that we behold. And I strongly believe, as a culture of creative people, we can see how great Jamaica is on the world map from our food. Okay, I'm a foodie, but our music, our sports, culture and all, we have surpassed this. We're all over the globe. Jamaicans are everywhere. And so there's something I believe about Jamaica. And I'd just like to say right now that I would love everybody listening to just check out our pledge, because we have sadly forgotten that our pledge is a prayer and what our pledge really means. So I'm here promoting the pledge tonight because it's what's in my heart, and it's what has me here right now, deciding that I'm going to make sacrifices in my life for the benefit of my nation.
Thank you for that. Professor Rosalie, the outcomes that you want to see with the collaboration, because what I got to understand from Wake Up Jamaica, it is a umbrella collaborating with the diaspora and different groups. So therefore, I sense you want many input as well, Stephanie. Professor, what do you say as well as outcomes? And I go to
Yes, definitely. In addition to active engagement with respect to the Constitution, it's also active engagement in how we manage and engage our society. Specifically, we're talking about things like voting. Voting is important. We've been seeing a declining trend in voting. That's troubling. Last election we had just over 13, less than 40% of those eligible to vote voting. Now, we have to do better. And so there's a lot of, most Jamaicans will say they don't vote because they don't see anything to vote for. Well, let's create options to vote for. Let's actively roll up our sleeves and
Yes.
find reasons to vote. Don't sit back and wait for somebody else to create that. So if that's the concern, we have to, there's a referendum that will take place as we move to this republic. Now, again, if Jamaicans don't turn up, who will decide the future of
Yes.
Jamaica? This constitutional change is important. It's critical. It's the fundamental laws that define who we are as a people and where we want to go and our dreams and aspirations. And
Yes.
therefore, we have to get involved. And so, active engagement in these things matter. Go organize it, and it doesn't have to. It may sound big, but it's
Mm.
as simple as leaving a program like this and
Yes.
beginning a conversation with your friends and family about what is a republic, what kind of republic you want to
Yes.
see, what kind of constitution. And if you're not sure of these concepts, picking up a book, going on Google, going on ChatGPT, asking these questions. All
Yes.
of the information is at your fingertips. Begin to ask the question, begin to engage and make a difference. It is when you move from the talk to the walk,
Yes.
you will wake up. We will see the outcomes of Wake Up Jamaica, right? Because we will
Yes.
see the actions. Things will look different. And I want to say that a simple way of thinking about the significant structural changes that we need to make in our country is this. For too long, we've relied on a few people to make important decisions that affect our
Yes.
lives. It's a no-brainer that if more of us, with all our diversity, with all our different specialized insights and experiences, if we find a way to come together, we can make better decisions.
So
And
therefore, the wake up is so crucial. Sorry. Yes.
right, and we can work out the details of what that will
Mm.
mean, but that's basically is a big part of what we have to do. We can no longer rely on a few people to make the decisions.
Yeah.
We're much too talented as a people. We're much
Yes.
too creative as a people. We have to create a framework in which we can unleash this creativity and we can ultimately make better decisions that will shape our future.
Thank you. My leader, Dan, you know, you initiated this move from the diaspora perspective, and as you joined and amalgamate and collaborate, what are the outcomes you want to see achieve? Because as we work together, because we're in the diaspora. Rosalie is in Jamaica, and Stephanie is in Jamaica. We're in the UK.
My ambition is no different than that of Rosalie and Stephanie. It's to see the best outcome for the Jamaican people. We have said it so many times, and it is so evident in the world. Listen, if you take Jamaica and Jamaicans out of the world will just be a little miserable place. They won't have the best food, they won't have the best music, they won't have the most talented minds, they won't have the most beautiful women, they won't have Rastafarianism that levels out. Listen, if you take Jamaica out of the world, so Jamaica is, there's this lovely thing that goes around on Jamaica is a big deal. And everything else is side order.
Yes.
Jamaicans in their essence of who they are light and life. And one of the things, when you look out in the world, just look at us, even when we're at rest. We're not even excited to get involved in anything, we're just at rest, and we enter into a space. It becomes different.
Sure.
Yes.
Because we entered. Now, if you have a people that has that much potency and potential, and when you look at what is happening in Jamaica, it is not reflecting this at all. And so when I look behind that, what I see is a few people that are in power and in position that has kept the masses. They're very okay to have the Jamaican people in Jamaica to be dumbed down and to just follow behind politics.
Mm.
And whatever the leader says and whatever the party line is. Listen, the time for party lines, Jamaica is on TikTok. Jamaicans are on Facebook. Jamaicans are on, it's no longer Twitter, it's the X. I don't know what that is because I'm not on the X one yet.
Yeah.
Jamaicans, we are now seeing, we are observing what is happening in the global spaces.
Yeah.
And what we recognize is that some of us are really thirsty for that level of security in our country, where we can feel as if we are living it up. And when I say that, I'm not just talking about luxurious brands. When I think of the quality of life and of living, I am here in the United Kingdom, and I can tell you that even at my level, I honestly believe that some ordinary Jamaicans are living, have a better quality of life than me. And this is no joke. Listen, when you finish working, you can jump on a bus or in a car and you can go down to El Shop. Go sit down and eat some fish and all the vibes.
Not crabs though, not crabs. We don't eat crabs.
No more, you swim Avon. Go.
Well, of course, you know, we're having problems with beach access, but that's another story.
That's another story. So what I'm saying is that even in the natural spaces, God has blessed us with so much. And when you think of where we are right now, right, it is not reflecting. So you ask me, what is it that I would love to see? I want to see Jamaicans understanding their value. You're in the open spaces, you're on the global platforms, you're on TikTok, you're seeing life in other countries. You're seeing how people look after their cities, how they look after their environment, where you see the things people care about. We are no less than this.
Yes.
And for us to have the change that we want to see as Jamaicans, one, we need to wake up and we need to realize the grass is not necessarily greener on the other side.
Yes. Okay.
Hold on. Rosalie, he started me up, you know. I was trying to be.
I love it.
But I need to add one more. So I want to build on that point about better decision. It includes better economic decisions. I'm coming to your point there, Diana, about living in an environment that's cool, that's not us, and so on. Main reason Jamaicans leave is we want a better standard of living, right? And so the importance of different voices, innovative voices, creative voices in shaping the goods and services that we produce, that we can export, we can earn more foreign exchange from. That's a key outcome of more inclusive decision making. And it is when we do that, we're able to lift the standard of living of the Jamaican people. That is a realistic outcome that I think we can expect, because we have seen already in sectors where Jamaicans, without any help from government, on their own, that's the story of reggae music. Right? That's the story of Bob Marley. He didn't get any bank loan. He didn't get all these things that you can get, any interventions and all these things that exist now, but simply have not done enough to transform the landscape of the majority of small, micro, medium-sized businesses that are today struggling. The society and the economy is still benefiting just a few. So it is when we transform that, and we're able to generate the scale of outcome in the way to lift that standard of living of Jamaican people, we will see the full fruits of our collective decision making.
Thank you. Stephanie, you want to jump in there?
I mean, the sustainable economy is one of the things that are really on the top of my agenda, because one of my young 20-year-old sons said to me, when you wake up Jamaica and cause all these change, how are you guys going to plan to sustain the economy? And so it's important that we realize that our human capital is undermined. You talk about the issue with landlessness and what is going on in that. Too much land right now belongs to the crown. And that is why I'm very excited and eagerly awaiting that we move out to the monarch, so that some of this crown land can become Jamaican land and we can do more farming and do more export. There's so much more that we can do for a sustainable economy. Jamaica they haven't even touched the iceberg of what we're capable of doing.
Mm.
And I believe it's systematic. I believe it's purposely and intentional to hold back a nation that is little but
Yeah.
tolerant.
Look about Talawa. And what do you see as the major obstacles? Even though I believe we have alluded to it, but I'm sort of targeting it in a way. What do you see as some of the major obstacles to achieving some of these outcomes, other than people being asleep?
So I think that a lot of mental slavery is still happening. And
Mm.
so one of the major obstacles I see is people not believing in themselves because we don't know where we were coming from. And so we had our launch on Monday, and Stephen Golden was speaking about the history of the Constitution, and the students sat there in awe. And he says, how they don't know these things? And somebody's response was, they never taught us.
Mm.
And so they're really, I believe, they would love to see a dance culture continue and get bigger. But
Mm.
I think the people have to understand who they are, the value. Someone earlier said the value of who we are, our potential, our resources, and move past the state of numbness, which is not an easy process because there's a lot of pain and a lot of things that are happening to the ordinary man is not by chance. Yeah,
Mm.
so the strategy and the odds are somehow stacked up against us, and it really won't change until Jamaicans wake up and become active. Get up and read a book, go search and find out. You know, many Jamaicans don't know that there's a constitution reform even happening. So we need to wake up and get involved and, come out of the state of comatose.
I think one of the when I listen, Stephanie, this is something that was um said to me, and I think in a very argumentative way, which I quite support, from a friend in Jamaica. And the the argument was, you guys are talking about wake up Jamaica. Jamaicans are so um oppressed and repressed with their everyday trying to find food to put on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are in that mode of survival, it is really difficult for you to see beyond your scope. That people like ourselves are saying, "Wake up, Jamaica! There is a constitution reform." When somebody is really hungry, or they don't have the money that
Yeah.
they need now to deal with life issues to feed their children,
Mm-hmm.
it's really difficult to engage in a conversation
Definitely.
that seems to be outside of your scope, because for now you are trying to survive.
Yes.
And this is what I say to that. I say that is why it is important to engage, because it's not just to say you don't know what you don't know, because you have within your grasp, even if you are in survival mode, it
Mm.
does not take away, within the same space, happening at the same time, is I won't say your rights are being eroded, but your future is being negotiated on your behalf, and you're still not a part of that conversation. So you can either focus on being hungry and how
Mm.
you're going to feed, or you can say, I will eat, but that is important too, if not for me, for my children.
Right.
I
And
want,
so
yeah.
it is that
Mm.
mindset
Yeah.
that sometimes, that if you can just focus just a little away from just the here and now, and see into the future and see the benefit of a future, of a Jamaica, the possibilities. So if you can understand that you might be hungry now, but the possibilities, you see, when a people lack hope, when
Yes.
we take away people's hope
Yeah.
and their ability to dream, and their understanding that yes, hard work can make a difference, when we take away that, because they
Mm.
feel oppressed and repressed daily, on the grind every day, you have to be planning that meal. You're thinking, where am I going to get the money to send the kids to school?
Yeah.
Where am I going to put the food? That's a
I want,
reality
yeah.
for a lot of people.
I want to bring in this point here, Rosalie, and also Stephanie. A brilliant point that Diana mentioned is a person is hungry and they're dealing with, food directly each day, these
Yes.
big issues, CRC, these big issues about Republic, um, that is not something which is their felt need. How do you go about that? Because the poverty line in Jamaica is very high at the same time. How do you deal with that bit there and represent those and to inspire and to motivate those persons to act?
Diana is right in making that link with the
Mm.
preoccupations of the Jamaican people, and it is these bread and butter issues. How do you find the next meal, and how do
Yeah.
you ensure that you can maintain whatever standard of living you have and don't lose ground? And that was especially important coming out of COVID, where we saw so many people would have lost their businesses, things got worse. Now, again, I want to come back to the way we make these decisions. You see, if we allow others to make decisions that affect us without us, then they don't understand the particular perspectives, the issues you're grappling with, and how you can find solutions with help. And so this is especially true for entrepreneurs and business people who every day have to get up and create goods and services that ultimately can generate income for them and their family. And so if we find ways to include them, and we've proposed in our constitutional reform submission, the submission we made to the Constitutional Reform Committee, we talked about things like participatory budgeting, where at the local levels, and right now we ought to have something like this in the form of the Constituency Development Fund, but unfortunately, in most cases, we don't. But if we have an arrangement where the people of Jamaica can decide how to spend a share of the budget, our tax dollars, to solve the problems. These are not just individual problems. There are problems that we can define at a community level. And if we actively get involved, we can see direct benefits. And while we are focused on the fact that we want income to, make ends meet by food, clothes, etc., how we make the decisions and how we create the income matters. So if we can think about the fact that you make your own decisions to go out and work and build a business or what have you to generate income, but if you can also influence state resources to help you to make those decisions, then it ultimately can directly affect you. So I want to urge Jamaicans, and I know that many people think that these bread and butter issues, these economic issues, are not really directly linked to the Constitution. In fact, they are directly related. In fact, I want to remind Jamaicans that annually, in fact, a Gleaner editorial just reminded us that we are losing $2 billion every year for corruption and crime. $2 billion every year.
Right.
Just the entire education system costs less than $2 billion.
Yes.
So we are losing a lot of money, and therefore, if we can put a governance arrangement that can curb some of this corruption, there's better oversight of our decisions, and we create the mechanisms in which even our representatives in Parliament are not dominated, but they can actively help to get our voices heard in the decisions that become law. It is that kind of rethinking of the current arrangement that I think.
There's a creative thinking that got to be done. Stephanie, any thoughts on that point?
Well, what we realized when we were creating this campaign and doing some pre-research on how to engage people, we realized that the majority of Jamaicans are not even interested in the conversation about the Constitution unless they understand how it affects their pocket.
Yes.
And so because of that, we had to be more strategic in realizing that the conversation, again, has to include how the economy of things is going to affect the ordinary person.
Mm.
And so we've been strategizing, this is how I realized that it is going to take a body of people to create a critical mass that
Yes.
pushes this movement. It is bigger than an individual or a one organization. It is going to require
All
collaboration.
of us.
We really had to become creative
Yes.
and be able to let people understand how it affects their pocket, because that is what really matters to them.
And that leads into the execution. The whole way how this is going to be achieved. How will this be executed? And what's the stepping stone in executing this now? Of course, as you said, it's a worldwide collaboration with the diaspora. How will this be executed?
So we were, in doing our research, we realized that it is going to take serious strategy. Not no
Mm.
ordinary everyday approach is going to work. And so we reached out to the Constitution Reform Committee first and foremost to say, we see that there is a need for public education. Would you like to work together? And that has been a trial. But it was
Mm.
something that we figured we needed to do initially. And then next thing we found that was important, because this is a very futuristic thing that we're aiming towards, is
Yes.
that we start with speaking to the youths them of the country. We need to understand what is important to them, so that we're not planning a constitution that we think looks good for us now, but
Mm.
really trying to create one that is going to be sustainable for them into the future. And we realize that the constitution of any country, but particularly because we're talking of Jamaica, it should really be revisited every 75 years
Mm.
as society changes, as the world changes, in order that we can move in the advancement of our cultures. And so, yeah, we're dealing with the youth first, and then we're going for the parents, because a lot of healing need to begin in at the home, right? And then we're going into the community. We even have plans to go and
Mm.
host meetings in Coronation Market. One of the things we believe is that the name of the market might need to change, because we have lost our identity,
Yeah.
believing that, first of all, forget the king right now. The majority of Jamaicans believe that the prime minister is the boss,
Mm.
Bro God.
and they
As in the
don't
government general.
understand the concept of public servant. And I
Mhm.
think they too have forgotten what the concept really means. And so the vision is to speak to the ordinary person at their level. We're going to do some street art, because we want to see, get in touch with people who are visually in, those who are, they learn visual. Not everybody comes and can sit into a meeting for an hour, you know. And so we're being creative in how we roll out the program, and definitely going into the communities. And one of the main things that we realize is that we have to reach out to the diaspora.
Can you say a bit more about the creative aspect? Because Donish was talking about that. Say a bit more about the creative aspect of this with the musicians and
Sure.
everyone.
So
Yeah. Mm.
we know that, as not even just as Jamaicans, but again, as a psychologist, we have this thing called music therapy. It's been going
Yes.
on from the days of scripture. David used to have to play music for King Saul to soothe his soul. And so
Mm.
there's something very powerful about music and the impact it has. And so, coming from a musical family, one of the first things I did was reach out to the music fraternity to say, we know that the instruments and the musicians have to be the beginning of the call. They have to
Mm.
make the noise, they have to make the voice, and then our people locally learn so much through the music. It is so ingrained in who we are as a people. And so we believe that the musicians have a serious role to play, and we have been reaching out, and there are plans, because we're looking on right now, not just a We Are One World album and potential
Mm.
tour, but we're looking at the fact that Jamaicans can produce music that impacts the whole globe. We've seen it done before. We
Mm.
have to tap in to the power of the music.
Yes, definitely. Professor, thank you for that.
Yes, absolutely. Stephanie said it all, the
Mm.
potential of our music. I mean, we've seen beyond our music, for example, the impact of a Marcus Garvey,
Yes.
the impact of our athletes, the
Yes.
impact of everything we do. And so we have to use that creative potential to solve this problem. And this problem we have is that we're underutilizing the capacity of the Jamaican people. We are
Yes.
underperforming, Yes, it's nice to use the words that, we punch above our weight in the global scale, but the world doesn't know who we really are. They don't know that we can punch 10 times bigger.
Yes, yes,
So we know that.
yeah.
And part of what we're doing is basically saying we can do more. We
Mm,
can become a developed country. This is,
mm,
in fact, our vision 2030. But we're way behind the markers and the benchmarks to achieve that. But
yes,
okay, if we don't make it for 2030, maybe we can make it for 2060 or,
yes,
or, or 2090. So the point is that we have to use that creative potential that we have. And as we focus on those solutions that we
mm,
invent, we create. I want to just comment quickly on a comment that was made in the chat, that does it mean that we don't need anybody else, we're only relying on us? Absolutely not. Great nations are built on the infusion of ideas from all over the world.
yes, yes,
The Americans, the British, all of these countries are not great because there's some core set of people who are great. They've brought together
mm,
all the peoples of the world, and they have brought this melting pot of ideas that have generated what we've seen. Jamaica is no different, and we
yes,
must invite everyone to be part of this. We have to ensure that when we invite people, our people are not displaced, right?
mm,
We see a lot of that. But we,
Mhm.
we, we put our people and all creative people at the center of this process. And it is when we begin to respect each other's
mm,
contribution to the process that I
yes.
think we can get better outcomes.
I want to bring in this point here about who is on board, but also want to link it as we're going up to the ending of the show. How can the diaspora and others who support this campaign get involved, and at the same
Just
time
about
link
to
that
jump
with
on that,
and also to link
board.
that Stephanie with who is on board as well.
So currently, and as we grow, this is a growing process, and we
Yeah,
definitely need collaboration from, all over the world, which
yeah,
is why I reach out to members of my family who have a more international reach than I do. To
mm,
their audience is international, and so
yes,
definitely we need. So currently, we have the Advocate Network. We're working with them. Humanity for Over Vanity. Sorry, that's Humanity Over Vanity. Talk
mm,
Up Youth is on board. We have Get a Youth United. The Rita Marley Foundation is also on
yes.
board, and we have One Jamaica Legal and Defense Foundation on board currently, but we need more people locally and abroad.
And
And
as
one
for
of
the
the things,
diaspora,
Stillborn,
sorry, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, please.
one of the things, Stillborn, is we have to impress on the government that Jamaicans in the diaspora who desire to play a part and are very passionate about being a part of the change they want to see, they give them the opportunity to participate and their expertise and their skill sets that they've
Yes,
acquired outside of Jamaica, that this too should be seen as assets that is
Yes.
mm,
contributed and given, and we're quite happy to give it freely. But one of the things that we are up against in the diaspora is the notion that we don't really have a voice in this
mm,
process. So it me sometimes seems like a farce that we are participating, but we
that
really don't have an impact
yes,
outside of what the government would give us. And we want to say, no, we are Jamaicans. We want to
Yeah.
yes,
be a part of the process. This is not going to be unique to just Jamaica. The
yes,
countries who has diasporas all across the globe, when they're having matters of national decision and interest, be it an
yeah,
election, be it there are
yeah,
things in place that allow them and facilitate them participating in this
yeah,
process. And so
yeah,
something as crucial and as important as a constitutional reform, it really behooves me that the
mm,
government would literally send diaspora for a PR campaign are not necessarily being serious negotiators and serious
Yeah.
partners into the process. So the diaspora is looking to the
Mm.
government to we are a creative people. There must be a solution. I know
Yes.
in terms of just the constitution itself and how that is expected, that those of us who really want to vote and be a part of the reformation,
Dan, I'm
that
having
we
some
have to be,
difficulty with your mic. I'm getting some feedback from your mic. Um,
oh,
can,
I
yeah.
think I keep telling you about Sky. I need to change them.
You sure it's not Flow? Are you using
It's
Flow
not Floor
from Jamaica
Digital. This is Sky.
or Digital?
What?
Okay. All right.
But honestly,
Thanks
the
for that, Dan.
diaspora needs a voice. The diaspora
Yeah.
needs to be able to
Yes.
be facilitated to be a part of the
Yeah.
process, and that
Yeah.
their concerns and their voices are not just listened to, but sometimes
Mm.
acted on also, because we're a process.
And Wake
Yeah.
Up Jamaica strongly supports that,
Yeah.
Diana.
And
Thank
yes,
you.
and thank you so much. And the point I was going to bring to you now, Stephanie, is to speak to the diaspora. The contact detail is there. Someone had asked how can they get involved. Remember that earlier. How can the diaspora and others who support this campaign get involved? The website is there. If you can speak to persons, how they can get involved directly with the organization.
Definitely, we need collaboration, but we also need conversations to start happening in their circles, in their communities. People need to be talking about it and enlighten it in as I say in the community, but also on their social platforms. You know, the
Mm.
discussion is important. It needs to get bigger and bigger because I haven't yet booked up a country where there's not a Jamaican, and so we need to get the word out there. The message needs to
Yeah.
definitely be spread. We do need funding because in order to create the educational materials, in order to conduct the school tours, in order to go into the communities, and one of the important things we want to do is this food security program. So
Yeah.
definitely financial support is needing, but I think the conversations is a great start to get it moving, to make this ball as big as it can, because we want the world to actually feel the impact of
Yeah.
Jamaica. I feel they've just gotten a chip of the iceberg,
Yeah.
and there are so many greater things that we should achieve. We need to, as our pledge says,
Yeah.
play our part in the advancement of the whole human
Whoa.
race.
So can I just say as well, just like how we spoke just a few days ago, and we initiated this show within a few days, are you saying that persons can also reach out to Wake Up Jamaica to the website
Yes.
www.wakeupja.com and
JA.
reach ja.com and also can have some sort of forum with you as well? Yes.
Yes, definitely. I'm on
Mm.
the forum in discussions, but
Yes.
we have a section on the website called I Pledge. I pledge to thee, my country. Should not just be
Yes.
words, but there need to be actions. And so you can join us as a partner, you can make donations, and you can contribute to the discussion. As I say, add to the conversation because there are things I am still learning. And when I hear Professor Hamilton say, as a background in law, she's still learning things about the
Mm.
Constitution. So again, even the way it is written, it needs to be reconsidered and come with a different approach so that it can
Yeah.
be palatable for the ordinary person. I'm
Yeah.
still educating myself, and the website was created so that the ordinary person has a place that they can, in bite size, understand what's going on with the reform process.
Right.
And Stephanie, you're so important. That point needs to be reiterated, that we are all learning, that nobody has all the answers. This is a learning process because we have to understand who we are.
Yes.
And there's a lot of information out there. How do we process it? How do we come together? How do we, what are the best decisions? And as Diane said earlier, we're not making decisions for next year or the year after. We're making decisions for future generations because these rules guide so much of what we do. And they're not something that you can change overnight. And it may take, I hope, less than 75 years to change it. Hopefully, we can look at it on by yearly or whatever frequent basis. And countries do that all the time, But we have to really recognize that it is a learning process. And one of the first obligation is for us to go online, gather the information, engage the dialogue. And it is when you have that information, you begin to find the power to speak, to act, to engage.
Well, I want to say, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. At so short notice. But before I do that, I'll give Stephanie any last word or anything we may have slipped that you want to get in. Any last word?
I'm just grateful for the support, definitely, of Professor Hamilton. She's one of our lead advisors. I hardly make a decision without calling her or messaging her. And we have individuals too, you know, not just organizations. We have individuals who are passionate about our country, like Diana, like yourself, who have come on board. And I'm especially grateful for the support of people who are awake, because we need those who have deeper understanding, who have deeper interest, and we need them to spread that, because it's something that comes from within. And if you love your country, you don't just sit and be complacent, but you contribute to the development of the nation.
Thank you so much for that. And Diane, and then I'll go to Professor Rosalie. Professor Rosalie. Dan, your last word?
It's really just, it really is encouraging to me that at home we have flag bearers, we have individuals who refuse to go with the status quo, who will stand up for truth and justice, who want to see a better Jamaica. And Professor Hamilton, I must say, when I told my sister, who is in Jamaica right now, she lives there, that I was collaborating with you, she very, very proudly sent me a photograph with she and you stand up. And she sent me a picture and she said, no, I know her. She might not remember me, but I know Professor Hamilton. So I thank you all so much. And I am here, my sleeves are being rolled up, and I am willing and ready to work for the cause, for the betterment of Jamaica. And Stephanie, that poem, that pledge is my mantra for service as a Jamaican before God and all mankind. I pledge the love and loyalty of my heart, the wisdom and courage of my mind, the strength and vigor of my body in the service of my fellow citizens. I promise to stand up for justice, brotherhood, and peace, to work diligently and creatively, generously and honestly, so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race.
Well said. Thank you.
We should end on I can't out that. We should end on that note. But I do want to say, thank you. And I want to say to Jamaicans, listen, we'll make up the thing, right? Yeah, because Stephanie Marley made a decision to act. Yes. And, you know, we collaborated and so on. And the next thing you know, we have a Wake Up Jamaica. Yeah. Diane McKenzie made a decision to engage the diaspora and hold town hall meetings. That's why we're here. I made a decision that I'm going to collaborate with really good Jamaicans who want Jamaicans to prosper and do well. And we created this advocates network. And Silver, you create a show, right?
Yes.
And I want Jamaicans to understand that's how it works. You have to take action, make up the thing. And before you know it, we create something very special. And I think Wake Up Jamaica is a special initiative. It is trying to bring Jamaica, and it will bring Jamaicans together at home and abroad. Yes. And we will wake up Jamaica. We will wake up the world. And together we will create music.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And as some of the Sarita Stewart say, yes, wake up Jamaica. And Good News Jamaica TV, proud of you, strong people. We lick about with Talawa. G&G is here for you. Great conversation on the mountains. Blogging God say, but the Prime Minister is the boss.
Nice.
No, we are the boss.
We
That's
need
where we need to go to.
I just,
We, all of us,
wake
we
up,
are the
brother,
boss.
wake up.
I,
Wake up.
I just had to drop that one in there. We need politics to activate community leaders to advance constitutional reform. Lloyd Taylor and partner of our Move by Faith, big up, and Wash Hands, Arlie McKenzie, and Sarah Stewart, big up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining for this part of the show. And thank you so much, Stephanie Marley, for coming on, Professor Rosalie Hamilton, as usual, and Dan McKenzie. And Professor, Rosalie, as I said to you earlier today, um, there are times you see some persons on board certain things and you don't think twice because you have that confidence in them, and that is
Yes.
one of the things that I've learned since knowing you over the
Yes.
month, getting to know you, and this whole campaign, that anything you call and say, I wouldn't think twice. I'm just letting you know that. And
Nice.
ladies and
That is
gentlemen,
true.
for the record, I'm on board already with the program with Awake, Wake Up Jamaica, because I'm already saying that each morning when I walk, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up in the morning, wake up everybody, while people sleeping. And some people say, oh, please. Listen, one lady one time said to me, she said, I wanted to walk and I didn't want to walk. And then I said, please let me not see Silburn walking. And then she saw me walking and she said, oh, shucks, I got to go out there. Silburn is walking in the
Nice.
rain.
Wow.
So
That's that, motivating each other. Yes.
motivate,
Wow.
motivate each other as much as possible. So listen,
Yes.
thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Diana, and thank you, Stephanie,
Yes.
and all the best again. And we'll do some more for this when some other time come.
Yes.
Of course, I'll have some other persons talking a bit shortly now, reviewing how things are. Okay,
Thank
see you
you.
later. Thank you very much.
What you
Bye bye.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. And I'm let me see. I'm torn between continuing. I was supposed to have Mr. This a couple other persons to come on tonight. I'm just seeing if they're gonna come. Herbert, good energy. The methodology of this initiative is important, but we cannot stir people's heart with mobilizing people with new visions. And if you just spare me 1 second, Alex Moore. If not, as a matter of fact, I tell you what I'll do. I'll actually close. Oh, I was going to close the show now, actually. But yeah, let me see. Alex, how are you doing?
Hey man, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Can you see me clearly?
I can see you clearly. I can hear you clearly. And how's everything with you, sir?
Fantastic. Oh, everything is okay. Giving thanks, man. Glad to be here.
You're on the rock.
Yeah, man. Up in the mountains.
Yes. Well, you've heard the show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say, Alex Minute Moore, true born Windward Maroon, and international relations, and he's a cultural activist, Maroons' right activist, former Minister of Foreign Affairs for the Akampong Maroons, and herbalist, traditional knowledge. Alex was the apprentice and student of the great Maroon leader of the late Major Charles Aarons, and he's an indigenous representative for the Portland Environment Action and a tireless advocate for the people. How are you doing, sir? What was your take on the discussion today?
I think it was fantastic. I think it was lively. I think the lovely ladies brought a great deal of insight, and I think that with that kind of direction, that kind of forward thinking, we can really have an impactful change here. But I think that the government of Jamaica, I'm not really casting aspersions or anything, but I've noticed from I was a small child that they have a thing that I'd like to call the cart before the horse syndrome, and I think that very heavily it is needed that the people of Jamaica would have a better understanding of their identity, who they are. And I think that is the beginning point. I think that it's very important to start from a historical perspective, so we can understand why is it that we have a right to be sovereign? Why is it that we have a right to be a free people? Why is it that we have a right to have a sovereign constitution? Because this is what we're talking about at the end of the day.
Yes.
So I think that it's vital. And then I think it was Professor Hamilton that made mention of uh, a greater sense of ownership needed for Jamaican people. And
Yes.
I think that that stems from the fact that a constant narrative of slavery, a constant narrative of, we were all brought here, and there's no reconciliation with the fact that, okay, there's an earlier history, an indigenous history, that a lot of us have the bloodline of the first people of the island. And I think
Yes.
that it's very important that this change is rooted in justice, internal justice for the
Yeah.
people of Jamaica,
Yeah.
where there is public education that they can understand what does sovereignty mean, what does independence mean, and why should we have a sense of ownership? Because if we were dragged here in chains, as they say, do we really own the land? So these are the things that I think need to be addressed.
And what you're saying and what I'm picking up is that over the years, it's like there's been a sort of autopilot to this point
Yeah,
now whereby one needs to now sort of recalibrate and go back and say, hang on a second, guys, this is really what it is. But
precisely.
it seemed like there are so many competing factors for the attention of people that they're
Yes,
just like how these days now people hardly watch a video which is more than 10-20 minutes because of the short
correct,
span of concentration. So
correct,
it's,
correct.
but at the same time, I do recall during COVID, and especially persons with conspiracy theories and all those, the claim of conspiracy theories, their
Yes,
views would be thousands and millions. So people actually watch and delve into things into hours that they truly believe and
that
inspired.
they truly are interested in.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I
Exactly.
think that there has to be a serious focus in terms of young people, because
Yes.
who will be inheriting the new constitution? Who will be inheriting the new direction that we're putting in place? This is a
Yes.
sacred trust, really and truly, and we have to recognize it for what it is. And this, as our ancestors, our Maroon ancestors would say, it should be for rising generations, for the
Yes.
born and the unborn. So I'm thinking that even in terms of the public education space, that young people need to be heavily involved, young people need to be heavily engaged, and not just engaged, but truthfully involved. Like, TikTok is where it's at right now. We
Yes.
have to understand that that it's young people who can speak the language of young people, and no offense to the older generation or the generation before us, but we have a language, and very few people in the older generation can
Mm.
speak it. So it is very important that that is understood, and that true investment is made in the new generation who is going to inherit this new direction.
Listen, Alex, one of the things that I do my regular shows, as you know, and
Yeah,
O'Neill and myself, one of my colleagues, always come on the show. We always say this, and also Gary on Wednesdays, on Thursdays, always say this, that the leaders of today who are making the changes for the world that the youths are going to grow up in, those leaders will not be around maybe in 5 years' times.
yeah,
Some of them will be dead and gone, brethren. And and
pretty
and
much.
and therefore it is incumbent upon the young people and people, no matter who they are, to get involved in the process, because you're gonna have these guys when they reach to a certain point. I believe that they're gonna say, "What me can get out of this for me pick them for the
That's
individual
it.
pick them," because
That's it.
I believe in a sense, Virgin. This is my view. There's a lack of great leadership in the world now. There's a lack of convicted leaders because they are moved by parties, they are moved
Yes,
by corruption, they're moved by what they can
yes.
get, but not for the people. Hence the reason you're seeing what's going on in the world.
and that is it. And I think that it was Miss Marley that mentioned that we need a constitution and a direction that is by the people, for
Yes.
the people, of the people. And I think quite personally, I use that statement almost every day.
Yes.
If there is not, you see, the people have to be invested. For example, the United States of America,
Yes.
the great power that they are today. Recall carefully that these were British people who came over under the order or the license of their king. And eventually, because of taxation without representation, as they say, and other factors, they decided that they were going to draw away from the king and do their own thing.
Yes.
Now, if we consider the fact that we are different people from that ruler, that King Charles the second individual, he is a foreigner in comparison to us. We are the people of the soil, and we need to recognize that that entitles us more.
Yes.
And even with the situation, the United States of America, they created for themselves an entire identity.
Yes.
And it started with the Declaration of Independence. And the fact of the matter is this, that the Declaration of Independence created a new people, it created a new nation. And
Mm.
what we have is a proclamation of independence, where independence was proclaimed upon um, her trusty and loyal servants or subjects in Jamaica. So not even Jamaicans, the trusty and loving subjects, as she put it, and that's Elizabeth, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we need a document, we need a foundation that is going to be of the people, for the people, by the people.
And this is what you're talking about, having a very effective and strong constitution, but for the
Yes,
people. Yeah.
yes. But I honestly think that because of our status as a formally, or we can't even say formally, as a colonized nation, as a
Mm.
colonized land, we need to have a declaration of independence or a declaration of sovereignty. That forms in essence the introduction of the constitution, that
Mm.
is going to outline who the people that are being called Jamaicans today are, and why they have a right to be free and to be sovereign in their own right.
It is interesting. I want to thank Tashana Mullins. All generations must combine efforts. Lloyd Taylor said thank you and good energy. And if anybody, please share your views and your discussion and as to what we are talking about. We're having a, this is what I call a rapping, not a rapping like I used to rap before, but this is like a discussion as to Jamaica and the way forward, because I believe that all ideas must contend. All person must content. Not mean to say that every idea is the best thing for Jamaica. And being overseas, even though I'm straight out of Ochi, I have a
Mhm.
vested interest. You mentioned something earlier about the young people, and
Yes.
I'm in my 50s, early 50s. Even though I look like 16, you know. And just agree with me that I look like 16, Alex. It's important that you agree with me.
No,
But
and you look like you're in your forties actually.
you know,
Yeah.
I used to go to the library. We used to go to the libraries and we get our encyclopedias and all those
Mm-hmm.
bits and pieces there, and we do our
Sure.
research. But brethren, the youths of today with Chat GPT and AI, they're actually growing up in a culture where they don't know nothing about encyclopedia.
No,
So
that's
therefore,
true. That's true. That's
that
true.
is their era. That is something we got to
That's true.
recognize. They won't have any memories of that.
No,
That's the reality. So someone will say
no,
they are being lazy, but actually, are they being lazy or not? Because there's nothing for them to actually go and research. Because those books doesn't exist anymore on the shelves,
no,
except maybe for
no.
archives and maybe selling.
Yeah, or older households, that
Yeah,
maybe have a volume
yeah.
toss somewhere.
So therefore, let's talk about the youths now. What do you're young as well? what
Yes.
are the youths should be mobilizing to or looking to, or what should be mobilized or empowering them or inspiring them? Who shall be doing that?
You know, first of all, you mentioned just now, that the youth won't have access to most of these things.
Yes,
And the beauty about it is that now it's at their fingertips. What
yes,
I think is that the youths have never understood the importance of these things. So the encyclopedias are now online and they can be accessed. But
yes,
who is instructing them? Who is teaching them that it is important to have this general knowledge? Because I remember being in high school and we were learning things like, what's that called? Earth geometry
mm,
and trigonometry. And
yeah,
we used to ask ourselves, what application will this knowledge have in my day-to-day life, in my living?
yes,
So I think that it was very important. Say, for example, for me, when I attended the University of the West Indies, I
mm,
learned how to apply knowledge. And
yes,
I think that that is one of the biggest factors that are facing the youth today. They don't understand the application of knowledge, and they don't understand, why should I acquire knowledge?
mm,
No, if we say to the youth, you are a stakeholder, and you're a stakeholder because of your bloodline, because of what your ancestors fought for,
yeah,
because of what we've been through collectively as a nation, as a people, as a unit. And it is important then, youth, to have knowledge so that you can accept, you can receive the baton and not complain, but rather implement a strategy to fix the issues. And this is where application of knowledge comes in.
comes in.
So
Yes,
the youth need to be equipped with the fact that it's not just empty knowledge, but something to be applied, and that knowledge is dynamic, right? So youth engagement is fundamental, and I don't think that youth engagement is as simple as having one youth on the CRC.
yeah,
I'm thinking, for example, that there needs to be a proper subcommittee. As a matter of fact, I will say this. My wife is the youth parliamentarian for indigenous issues. And
okay,
these were suggestions that she had made, and it almost feels as if it fell on deaf ears.
mm,
I'm thinking that there needs to be a dynamic youth unit that's going to be combining social media. So these youths will be equipped to, say, go to historical sites, go
yes,
into the archives and thing, and with nifty editing, and skillful skillful wield of social media, that
yes,
these youth will make this knowledge hip, will make this knowledge something that, other, because as you said, conspiracy theory,
yes,
and you know it has to be put in a way that's riveting. So conspiracy theory is always put in a riveting way by those who
yes,
present it. So
yes.
factual knowledge needs to be presented in that riveting way.
I just picked up and I just got on TikTok, and I resisted TikTok for a long time. Resisted
Yes,
it
I
until,
did too.
and then somebody said you need to go on it, and there I'm on it and having good fun, and realize on it, youths upon youths upon youths upon youths, and something of this nature, like the constitution bit, there should be an army of youths empowered to train up youth to say, yo, 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 this is what go on. You know what I mean? In Jamaica, not just to
Exactly,
dance dance with them.
exactly.
Because as we said a while ago, and this is very crucial, during the COVID period, there's a lot
Mhm.
of so-called riveting information, which is called conspiracy theories. But at the
Yes,
same time,
yes,
that captured people who would watch things
yes.
which were not a 5 minute thing, hours.
Hours,
Hours.
hours,
Why were
hours.
they watching that? Because there's something there.
Yes, exactly. And I am a part of a growing online community.
Mm,
Where it's mostly young people. There, I'm 32, and there are youths there speaking with strength and power. on these TikTok lives that are younger than me.
Yes.
And it's very inspirational. But guess what? They feel disenfranchised. So
Mm.
they feel that they have these very powerful opinions, these very powerful suggestions, but it will
Oh,
never reach to the official halls of government, for example. They don't feel like they're being listened to because it's a thing where the youths feel like they're being called militant, extremists. They feel like if they,
all these different
yeah,
names.
if they speak too strongly and with too much passion, it's like, oh, this youth is a threat. That's how a lot of them feel.
Wow. When was it? I was in church the other day. My wife was preaching, and I came home and I was looking at this scripture in the Bible that spoke about when David was going to go for Goliath, and all the guys in were getting scared of Goliath, and David said, "Who is this guy? I can take down this guy, man." And Saul finally heard him and said, "Hang on, this guy's saying something different from what all these other guys are saying." And Saul said, "Call David." And David said, "I can do this, man. I can do this." And Saul said, "No, you can't. This guy has been trained for years and he's got these massive armors." And then David said, "Man, I used to kill bears and kill lions and take out lambs out of their mouth." And then Saul said, "All right, you go on. I'm dropping in Jamaica. You go on. I'm going to take down Goliath." The point about it is that the youths, and I said it as well, youths should make sure and somehow recognize that their voices are important and not to be disenfranchised by those who don't understand it, Alex. Because guess what? Michael Manley
Yep,
was a youth, PJ Patterson was a youth, Siaga, all of those guys were young guys when they were getting there. Militant.
definitely, definitely. Portia Simpson,
All of them.
Miller, all of
All
them,
of them
all
very
of
good.
them started young.
Yes.
But then, the youths of today recognize something, and as a youth, I recognize something. A lot of
Mm.
those people are reluctant to release the grip that they have. They are very reluctant. It's as if I were to speak for the youth, a lot of the youth feel like, these politicians want to either get taken out in a stretcher or
Mm.
they want to get pushed out of parliament on a wheelchair, right?
Yes.
And no offense, but you have to make space because like there are only 62 seats in the parliament,
Mm.
so we're
Yeah.
63, right?
Yeah.
And then the Senate is like an exclusive club. If
Yeah.
you're not liked by these parties, how do you get in?
Or they
So
can
these are the things about it.
sign some unsigned letters for you to come out if anything like that. you know? Yeah, yeah, you're right about it,
Exactly.
Bridget. It's like, well, somebody said earlier, Andrew is the boss. And when they hear that
Yeah,
right, you can realize the big problem when somebody can say, Andrew is the boss. The boss of Jamaicans, ladies and gentlemen, are the people. Am I right,
correct.
Alex? So
I I I totally feel that way. Yeah,
anytime somebody come on and say, Andrew is the boss, I say, you missed the boat completely. You're lost. Alex, the people of Jamaica, and hear me out, people of Jamaica, you are the boss. The government and those guys are servants, ultimate servant. You should be able to remove them ultimately. That is why the Constitution of Jamaica needs to be something that is interwoven to a point where you can recall them. The people can say, we want them out. We want them out, or we want them in. It should
right.
not be that MPs and government officers and senators operate like the boss. The people
You
are.
know,
Hold on, hold on. Everybody who's
go ahead.
listening, type onto this. The people are the boss. You are the boss. You need
Mm-hmm.
to write it down. Anybody watching this, you are the boss, and send it straight to the government. Not the prime minister is the boss. Not the
Not the
MPs.
prime minister. No, no.
Yeah.
And I don't think the other day, if I may be openly critical,
Mm.
I don't think that it sent a very good message the other day when the parliamentarians decided that they were going to raise their own pay. So it would seem that it is only a boss that can give a pay raise. It is
Yeah.
only a boss that can say, okay, here we go, my employees, I'm going to pay you more money, or
Yes.
so on and so on. And it doesn't seem like there was any public consultation. I mean, none that I heard of.
Yes.
But I don't think that sends even a particularly good message to the youth, because at the end of the day, the youth are, let's say, even doing youth service and working with Heart Trust, etc. And there are real underground problems with these programs wherein the youth are not being paid. The youth are not, 2,000 teachers flew out this year, I think, between last year and this year. They've jumped ship. And why is that? Because they didn't feel like they were valued. And when you have a government that tells itself that, yeah, we can pay ourselves, and we can not only pay ourselves, but we can raise our own pay without any thought of what the people think, it sends a poor message. It sends a truly poor message. And so the people don't feel like they are the boss because of that message that has been sent.
Yes, yes. No, that is very serious stuff, and I believe that at a time like this, personally speaking, I believe at a time like this, I mean, with what's happening around the world, in Israel, Afghanistan, sorry, not Afghanistan, Palestine, um, Middle East, and all those sort of things, it is so clear that the people are lacking confidence. Even in the UK recently, I believe an MP or part of the government, one of the lower minister, said that there need to be some truce or something like that, and they sacked him.
Yeah.
So nobody can really come out and say certain things, you know what I mean, and more in the virgin. It reminds me of the time with COVID when the man them shut down my show because we're talking certain things. When people were supporting Trump or not supporting Trump, and people are fighting, and people are what should I say, unfamiliar their people. They were unfamiliar. They had families, and
they disown them. They disown their own
their families.
You know,
that's what is happening. You know.
But listen, everything in politics, and I would say this, everything in politics is anchored and attached to an agenda. In all politics, there are sides, and you must remember that the politics and the economics that we're experiencing now, the Chicago School of Economics and Political Thought, is based on the scarcity of resources. So at the end of the day, because we are thinking from a place of scarcity, we are always going to say that one agenda or one set of needs will always trump the other, right? So there will never be, with a scarcity mindset, there will never be any space for inclusion of everybody, because you're automatically thinking that some must be left out.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that number one, it starts at identity, because even in Roman law, status is the first thing, right? That you have to establish standing. And then after that, you have to consider what are the needs of the people, right? One of Jamaica's biggest issues, if not the biggest issue, is a scarcity of internally produced food. And because of that, we are literally at the whims and fancies of the world, right? Yes. So because we as a nation have been unable to independently provide for ourselves any reasonable and great degree, we're at the mercy, right? We're like trees swaying in the wind, whichever way that wind blows. So I think that for a nation that has always been diametrically opposed to racism, to apartheid, and to a political system that excludes one set because of, their persuasion, their religion, etc., I think that it is very important to reclaim a foreign policy, just as an example, that ensures that that kind of mindset, that equality mindset that we're supposed to have, can live out. And then, you know what the biggest problem with it is? social media has made the world reduced to something that can fit in the palm of your hand. So literally, as the young people are scrolling through TikTok, they're seeing destruction and such in the Middle East, and they're seeing hurting people on both sides, and they're seeing a nation with leaders that decided not to even vote,
Yes.
right? Not to express. And then in not voting, no reservations were even put out. An
Yes.
official document to say, listen, we continue to support whether the two-state policy, or we stand with the children that are getting hurt and the mothers, the old people. There was no consideration of that. And
You,
I think that we need to have
yeah.
a backbone as a nation.
You know what I always say sometimes is this, and it's for every government, it's not just for Jamaica government. But when people go to the UN and these places and they make their decision, and like how I hear like the Prime Minister make his declaration about what's happening in the Middle East, you wonder at the same time, are those views cascaded up? Did they come up from the people? Or these guys just sitting there, look a bubble and just say, that's the view? You know, even with the whole issue with voting about the truce or whatever, like the
Yeah.
declaration in the Middle East, for any vote to have taken place anyhow, still, was there consultation with the people? Was there did the is it that the MPs are also a part of collective responsibility, not just the cabinet? I can understand the cabinet will have a collective responsibility bit, but what about are the MPs locked into this collective responsibility bit? Because in the UK, for argument's sake, there's war. I mean, as you realize that Boris Johnson was taken down by his own, as you realize that
Yeah.
this trust was taken down by our own, there was no collective responsibility when it come on to the MPs. Of course, and if there's a minister of government who is at odds with the prime minister, they normally know that they need to leave, but they'll say it. And
And
this
and
go on, yeah.
yeah, it makes you afraid to speak. It makes you afraid to express something that, quite frankly, could change the world, because the world can be changed by a single word.
Mm,
I think that, quite frankly, I think that the issue lies in our definitions and the words that we use. So I
mm,
hear Jamaica being called a democracy. Jamaica is
mm,
not a democracy, family, right?
mm.
Jamaica is not a democracy, and until we make it into a democracy, it will not be a democracy, right?
Yes.
And why do I say this? Jamaica is a constitutional monarchy, right?
Mm,
That is the official. And when you go and study at the Department of Government at the University of the West Indies, the first thing they tell you is that Jamaica is a constitutional monarchy.
Sorry, I'm going to stop you for a
Jamaica
second.
has,
I'm going to stop for a second. Blogging God,
mm,
who is on the line, and let's say it's my brethren, but he's just a diehard labor right, and he just don't see nothing about labor right business. I'm here where you say brethren, but right now we're having a discussion, and we're not really into no JLP or no PNP thing. No disrespect, brethren, but go on,
yeah, like,
deal with them thing
yeah,
there.
I mean, look, you see, this is the thing. You see, people are entitled to their opinions. I am just speaking about the facts that I know. Jamaica is not a democracy. Jamaica is a constitutional monarchy. Jamaica has democratic elections. But after that, the government members do as they feel,
Mm,
right? They do as they feel. And there is very little public consultation. And when there is public consultation, there is a condescension factor that we see. And we see it even with the CRC. There's a thing where, the people didn't know the previous constitution. So how are we
yes,
even think that they're going to have to know this one inside and out? But if the people don't know this constitution,
mm,
whose fault is it?
yes.
And my words are for both sides of the so-called political divide, because they're one government. When the other side was in power, they had the opportunity to do this. They spoke about it, beautiful speaking, and it was never done.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So look, we won't always agree, but we can
Yeah.
agree to disagree. The
Yeah.
opposition also gets a salary. They are paid members of government, and they
Mm.
just got a salary increase. So if a man thinks that I am here, so I've never voted in my life
Mm.
because I don't see, as a youth, I don't see what I'm voting for. I
Yeah.
don't see, I've never really, I can't say that I have definitely benefited from any party.
Yeah. I'm going to be having some more conversation from different persons, and to hear the heart of people. And and rightly and truly, we're all expressing views, expressing opinions, because there's got to be this awakening in the people. There's got we're talking about awakening earlier. There's got to be this wake up factor where people recognize that they have a duty and a responsibility, because the last elections, it was 31% of the electoral list. I think
Yep.
it was, yeah. And
Yep.
when you think about that, bro, you think about the next election, or you think about a referendum with those sort of figures,
It's not looking good.
it doesn't look good.
It's not looking good. And can we say with a clear conscience that a
Mm,
referendum with that kind of statistic is really the voice of the people? Right?
mm,
Can we say with good conscience
yes,
that anything done with that few, which would not be considered a quorum, right?
yes.
Would we consider that the voice of the people? And this is what I'm saying. That is why youth involvement is so important. And that is why anytime I come online in any forum like this, I tend not to speak about partisan politics, right? This, based on what we see on social media, I don't
Mm,
consider these numbers voter apathy. I consider it dissent. That is where I am looking at it as a political analyst. This seems like dissent to me, because will the numbers increase? I
mm,
mean, just check the temperature. Just spend one day on TikTok.
mm,
Just walk the streets and speak to the people, and you tell me if this is a fact that either, are they sad, or we don't feel or do they disagree with what is happening?
mm.
It's a difference.
Well, Virgin, it's it's interesting. Um, I think the whole wake up factor there is good, and I believe that people need to wake up to how things are. And I want to thank you so much, Alex, for coming on. And the last bit about the Maroons. I mean, how are
I
things?
think I think personally, right, that
Mm,
Jamaicans need to have a better understanding of their history and who they really truly are, and the sacrifice of their ancestors. And I think that any push like this, which is a historic push, needs to begin with internal reparations, because we're looking outside of ourselves. And I think that now that the British administration is no longer directly here, and we are on the land, and we are, in control if we choose to
mm,
be, that the people need to be empowered. The people need to receive land. The people need to understand their identity. The people need to be empowered with history. The
yes.
people need to know who they are. We need to stop putting the cart before the horse, and we
Yeah.
need to start from the beginning.
Mm,
Why are we a sovereign people? Because our ancestors fought for that.
yes. Yes.
Wars have been fought for that. And so we need, every nation needs to be properly
Yes.
reconciled with indigenous people, properly reconciled with an indigenous identity in order to go forward. That's my opinion.
If someone says that if you don't vote, as you said, Alex, you don't vote, you don't have a right
Hmm.
to speak. What do you say about that?
Kill me. Kill me, because
Because
I'm going to speak. I'm going
yeah,
to speak. I have a right to speak.
yeah,
I am here. I am drinking
mm,
water from under our feet. I'm breathing air. right? We depend on trees. We depend on a healthy environment. There are such a thing as human rights, the UDHR,
Mm.
Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Yes.
And here's the thing, to those people who say that, I know that you don't know the Constitution.
Mm.
It's easy for me to know because you don't know the Constitution,
Mm.
because the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms
Yes.
Act 2011 does not say for every voter. It says for all persons
Mm.
in Jamaica, you have a right to secure for yourself and future generations the rights enshrined in this document. So, hey man, kill
Yeah.
me. If you
It,
don't
it,
want me to speak, you're gonna
yeah.
have to kill me.
It's interesting. It's interesting because I hear that a lot sometimes, even in politics, when people don't recognize that some people who choose not to vote, they're exercising their franchise at the same time. Whether
There
you vote,
is a right to dissent.
there's a right to
As a
dissent.
matter of fact, talking about the right to dissent, it was re-established by the
Mm.
Chief Justice, the current Chief Justice Brian Sykes, in that in the huge NIDS case, right?
Yeah.
And it was made clear, right, that look, people have a right to dissent, because it was Lord Diplock,
Mm.
right, in England that said
Okay,
it
Lord,
is a
okay. Yeah.
yeah, man, it's a rebuttable presumption that parliamentarians are working in the interest of the people. And so, if the law lords can say this, I say unto you who say I don't have a right, because
Yeah.
you're going to have to kill me,
Yeah.
right? Because I know my rights and I know the law.
Yeah. The key thing about it is that every person within a constituency, that MP as I would like to use the word responsibility for, because I think one is giving MPs even so much excess sort of power because they're not responsible for people, but at the same time they shouldn't marginalize persons because of the fact they are of a different political persuasion at the same time. But anyway, those sort of arguments, Alex, is very minimal and low beyond our belt, I must say.
Yeah,
We
man,
have to look at the big
definitely.
picture, and we have got to empower and educate people and tell people as much as possible so they can feel free. And my final word is that, ladies and gentlemen, the boss of Jamaica are you, the people, not the prime
Wake
minister,
up.
not the MPs,
Yep.
yeah, not the senators, not some political activists who get caught up and get carried away. You, the people, are the boss. I was on a TikTok thing the other day with some guys, and I stopped and I said, guys, let me tell all you young people, you are the boss. The MPs and the prime minister are your servants. And I believe that the more this is said, and the more people wake up to that, they will understand that those persons are there as stewards. But at the same time, you can remove them, and that is why constitution should be shaped in a way where they can be removed if they are not functioning well, and that's how it should.
Trustees are trustees are accountable to the
Yes,
beneficiaries of the trust. And
yes,
until our leaders, so-called leaders, start to realize that they're servants with a fiduciary duty
yes,
to
yes,
serve the people, then it will always be in reverse.
yes, yes. Alex, listen, it was wonderful. I want to thank you so much, and we keep the link,
Peace,
and
man.
all
Every
the best.
time.
Peace out.
Yeah,
Take care.
man. Thank you. Thank you very much, man. Take care.
Respect, man. Cheers. Cheers. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight, and I want to thank you for those who join in with the discussion with Professor Rosalie Hamilton, Stephanie Marley, and also Diana McKenzie, who's Diana Benjamin, who took a part in the Wake Up Jamaica discussion. It is very interesting and it's very powerful, and I believe that even with Alex coming on and sharing, I believe there's a time now for Jamaicans to be awake to certain realities. And for so long, people, as to what I'm getting to understand, are somewhat sleeping into oblivion. And for those who have more interest, are the ones who are more active and can act on that accordingly. But if Jamaicans and all over recognize that the interests of the country it is in your hands, then you recognize that. But as discussed with Alex a while ago, um, people have got to recognize that they have a responsibility, they have a duty, and just because as we're saying that, you know, people normally never want to share their views more than 5 minutes, but at the same time, 1 hour or so, people can actually share their views, get empowered, get inspired, and want to make a big difference in Jamaica. All right. So I want to say thank you so much, and have a good night, and peace out. Thank you all the friends who came on. Let me just see something here. Yep. Freedom to choose includes dissent. Blessings. Lester, blogging God, I allow people to speak on my show as they see fit. Okay? So therefore, just like how you can come on and speak, you're not God Almighty that have all the facts. So humble yourself, boss. All right? All the best, guys. Peace out. Cheers. Fight for rights, the dynamic focus. Time to change. Peace out. Bye-bye. Cheers. Where is it? There we go.